Keep in mind that this protectiveness is bilateral, an exchange between the world and each of us. Each of us is a treasure, to be cherished and preserved, but so is the world and the hidden seeds in it, slumbering. The other hidden seeds. Thus, through the veil spinning of Kali, the right hemisphere of each of us, we are kept ignorant of what we must be ignorant of now. But that time is ending, that winter is melting, along with its terrors, its tyrannies and snow. The best description of this Doko's veil formation that I've read yet appears in an article in Science Fiction Studies, March 1975, by Frederick Jameson, in After Armageddon, Character Systems in Dr. Blood Money, which is an obscure novel of mine. I quote, "Every reader of Dick is familiar with this nightmarish uncertainty, this reality fluctuation, sometime accounted for by drugs, sometimes by schizophrenia, and sometimes by new SF powers, in which the psychic world as it were goes outside, and reappears in the form of simulacra or of some photographically cunning reproduction of the external." p. 32. I hope Jameson means drugs in the writing and schizophrenia in the writing, not in me, but I'll let that pass. You can see from Jameson's description that we are talking about something very like Maya here, but also something very like a hologram. I have the distinct feeling that Carl Jung was correct about our unconsciousness, that they form a single entity, or as he called it, collective unconscious. In that case, this collective brain entity, consisting of literally billions of stations, which transmit and receive, would form a vast network of communication and information, much like TR's concept of the Noösphere. This is the Noösphere, as real as the ionosphere or the biosphere. It is a layer in our Earth's atmosphere composed of holographic and informational projections, in a unified and continually processed Gestalt, the sources of which are our manifold right brains. This constitutes a vast mind, immanent within us, of such power and wisdom as to seem, to us, equal to the Creator. This was Bergson's view of God anyhow. It is interesting how deeply troubled the brilliant Greek philosophers were by activities of the gods. They could see the activities and, or so they thought, the gods themselves, but as Xenophanes put it, even if a man should chance to speak the most complete truth, yet he himself does not know it, all things are wrapped in appearances. This notion came to the pre-Socratics by virtue of their seeing the many but knowing a priori that what they saw could not be real, since only the one existed. If God is all things, then appearances are certainly deceptive, and, though observation of the cosmos may yield generalizations and speculations about God's plans, true knowledge of them could only be had by a direct contact with God's mind. I am quoting Edward Hussey in his marvelous book The Pre-Socratics, p. 35, and he goes on to give two fragments of Heraclitus. The nature of things is neither habit of concealing itself. Fragment 123, latent structure is master of obvious structure. Fragment 54. I wish to remind you that the ancient Greeks and Hebrews did not conceive of God or God's mind as above the universe, but within it, immanent mind or immanent God, with the visible universe the body of God, so that God was to universe as Psyche is to Soma. But they also conjectured that perhaps God was not the great Psyche but Nous, a different sort of mind, in which case, the universe was not his body but God himself. The space-time universe houses but is not a part of God. What is God is the vast grid field or energy field alone. If you assume, and you'd be correct to do so, that our minds are energy fields of some kind anyhow, and that we are fundamentally interacting fields, rather than discrete particles, then there is no theoretical problem in grasping this interaction between the billions of brain prints emanating and forming and reforming into the patterns of the Noösphere. However, if you still hold to the 19th century view of yourself as a brittle organism, much like a machine, made up of parts, well, you see, then how can you merge with the Noösphere? You are a unique, concrete thing. And thingness is what we must get away from, in regarding ourselves and in considering life. By more modern views we are overlapping fields, all of us, animals included, plants included. This is the ecosphere and we are all in it. But what we don't realize is that the billions of discrete and entirely ego-oriented left hemisphere brains have far less to say about the ultimate disposition of this world than does the collective noospheric mind, which comprises all our right brains, and in which each of us shares. It will decide, and I do not think it impossible that this vast plasmic noosphere, considering that it covers our entire planet in a veil or layer, may interact outwards into solar energy fields and from there into cosmic fields. Each of us, then, partakes of the cosmos, if he is willing to listen to his dreams. And it is his dreams which will transform him from a mere machine into an authentic human. He will no longer strut about and clank with majestic iron, no longer rule his little kingdom here, he will soar upwards, flying like a field of negative ions, like the entity Ubik in my novel of that name, being life and giving life, but never defining himself because no clear-cut name to him, to us, can be given.